Joining me now is Leonard Marshall, one of the greats from the New York Giants defenses of the late 80s and early 90s, multiple Pro Bowl appearances, multiple Super Bowl victories, and somebody who is suffering from some effects of what is now known as CTE. Mr. Marshall, thanks for coming on Meet the Press.
You're welcome, Chuck. Thank you for having me.
So we read about the impacts of CTE, and it's not necessarily, it's only now being discovered in folks that are alive.
Right.
Explain it. Explain what's happening to you.
I think that if it were not for Jason Lukasevic and Bennett Amalu, Dr. Bennett Amalu of Pittsburgh, I think that we would still be trying to figure out exactly what CTE really is. I think the work that Bennett did determining CTE, and Mike Webster, who was...
Mike Webster, longtime center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, synonymous with that old
Steelers
team.
Whole Steelers team, and that great team of the 70s into the 80s.
That guy never missed a game.
Never missed a game, an Iron Man.
Yeah.
And the effect that it had on him and his family, you know, from the erratic behavior to...
He disappeared. He was homeless at the time.
He was homeless. He was living out of his station wagon. They couldn't figure out why he was so aloof at times. When you would talk to him, you would see that there were memory lapse in some of his behavior. It was very erratic at times, and you just couldn't figure out. You know, the gentleman, you know, obviously had symptoms related to pseudobulbar palsy, and we didn't know what that was. So if it wasn't with people like Bennett and Jason, we really wouldn't know what that is today.
When did you sit there and go, what's wrong?
Well, Chuck, to be honest with you, I started having problems around 2005 to 2007.
You retired in 1994.
And
your last
95 was my last, 94, 95 was my last season.
Last season, 95. So this is 10 years into retirement.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm in the mortgage business, and I've got a family, and you know, wife and daughter, and trying to figure out, you know, where do I go from here? You know, what's wrong with me?
So what
why
would
am I like this?
Well, describe.
A clear example, Chuck, I would forget things. I would forget places. I would have these shouting matches with my wife for no reason. I would have this erratic behavior towards my child for no reason. I would do things that didn't make a lot of sense.
Did it scare you?
Scared the daylights out of me. And I started talking to people, and I started to figure out, I'm not in this by myself. There's other guys like me. You know, I started having conversations with guys like Reggie Roby and David Little and Dave Durison and some others, and I said to myself...
Durison story, tragic. He ended up...
Very tragic.
He took his own life.
Yes.
But protected his brain.
Yes. And Dave was very courageous for what he did, Chuck, because he did something that I don't think I could have done. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here having this interview.
Wow.
So, you know, in thinking about it...
You believe his suicide was a courageous decision?
No doubt. I think that he wanted to set a precedent. You know, people don't know Dave's story as well as I know it. You know, Dave and I became great friends as teammates in 1990. I helped him pledge my fraternity in Chicago. I befriended he and Alicia both. I admired his business acumen and how he carried himself in the business world. Things he did with McDonald's, things he did in the breakfast industry with McDonald's, and a lot of things that he did away from the game, I admired. And as Dave transitioned, he taught and showed me that, Leonard, it's easy to transition as long as you apply yourself, as long as you dive in with both feet. But you can't have one foot in and one foot out. You got to be in to win it. So I took that as, you know, okay, this is something I got to do. So I went deep into the mortgage business, the finance business, and tried to remain focused. I started teaching this at Seton Hall University for a while. And then I began to work on a book about this. because I felt like this needed to be shared with people.
This is about just transitioning
From
star athlete
from star athlete to everyday
a second
Joe,
life, right?
To the second half of my life, and then the trials and tribulations associated with guys that are in transition, guys that are dealing with
But this is before you even realized you had a medical issue.
Right.
Okay.
And as I'm doing this, I discover that I have this issue. And I start getting calls from guys are asking me questions. A friend of mine, John Bach in Florida, former Senator Dan Marino, says to me, Leonard, I think you need to go see these guys at NYU and have a conversation with them about traumatic brain injury. I think they can help you. One thing led to another, and I ended up meeting Dr. Delfino and several people at NYU.
So here we are. There is a settlement. The settlement, judge threw it out. I know you were happy with that because there's going to be more money potentially. But a lot of people think it's not going to be enough money. What's the next step here?
I wish I knew the answer to that question. I don't know. It's a waiting game. I don't know. I mean,
should the NFL permanently be taking care of your health care? Do you think that?
I think they should. And I think the problem with that is, you told me about everything else, but you didn't tell me about the risk associated with traumatic brain injury.
Now do you think they knew then?
Well, they had to know something.
You do?
Chuck, they had to know something. They had to know something.
Because that's their defense, right? That they didn't know either.
They had to know something. Chuck, those studies are done every year. Mm-hmm. They're done through the University of Michigan, okay? And now they're being done through Boston University.
So you're pretty convincing.
I'm convinced that they had to know something. Someone had to know something. Mm-hmm. And that information was not shared. Had it been shared, Chuck, and had guys had a chance to make a decision, in particular myself.
Yeah, let me ask you. So they tell you
decision.
This is a risk. Let's say at 18 years old or 22, you get out of college, you're going to get drafted, but they tell you there's some risk here. Maybe they say, this is, and they're describing what the risk is. And knowing then, if you knew then what you know now, would you have done it?
Well, there's an old adage, Chuck, that goes like this. Mm-hmm. To whom much is given, much is expected. Yeah. So, if you're given a lot, I'm going to expect a lot. I gave my all. Mm-hmm. You know that. 2 championships, 3 Pro Bowls, several All-NFLs, should be in the Hall of Fame, should be in the Ring of Honor in Giant Stadium. I did my thing.
Do you think,
what did they do for me?
I'm curious. You definitely have a resume that should be considered for the Hall of Fame. Do you think do you think the fact that you're an activist on behalf of players that believe that they're that they've been hurt by the game, do you think that has hurt your chances for getting honors in retirement?
I think that could hurt me. I think that could hurt a lot of guys. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Junior Seau in this whole run for the Hall of Fame, given the fact that Junior Seau committed suicide.
And for basically the same reason Dave Duerson did.
Correct.
Let me ask you, you have a daughter, you don't have a son. I have a 7-year-old. My wife's father played in the AFL for a brief period. We've talked about this, and we think we would let our son play, but we don't know yet.
Right.
What should Pop Warner do? What should youth football do to make it safe?
I think youth football should come to the realization that they should get involved with organizations like mine, like Brain Unity Trust, an organization that is being built on eradicating, educating, sharing the legal and the eventful side of what happens to people or kids that participate in sports at the youth level, and how to deal with that child should that child become injured or has a spat with brain injury. Because being concussed one time could lead to the same debilitating effects as if you were done 3 times, 4 times.
Do you think in 5 years we're going to say, boy, tackle football banned until you're at least 12 years old, until the brain is fully formed?
I think something of that nature is going to happen because you can't teach an old dog a new trick unless you start teaching the kids at this level. unless you teach them and take the helmet out the game from the 8 to 12-year-olds, okay? And not doing it the way you and I did it when we played, but your coach told you, hey, Chuck, see what you hit?
Yep, always look what you hit.
Put that helmet right in his chest.
It was
okay?
first day.
First day.
You get taught that, and you have to do it over and over and over. They don't teach it?
They don't teach it anymore. USA Football is doing a better job with that. Carl Peterson is now taking ownership of that. The guys at USA Football that actually run the operation of USA Football, they've done a better job with that. NFL Play 60 is doing a decent job with that. And I think that a variety of sports leagues are now following suit. You know, but I also think that the misnomer is it's not so much boys that play sports at the youth level at an early age. It's girls.
Sure.
It's soccer. Right. It's hockey. It's field hockey. It's volleyball.
Do you believe football can be safe enough to play in the future?
I think it can, but I think it's going to take an overwhelming and an alarming thing to happen because we live in this reactionary society. It's going to take something really bad to happen.
On the field.
On the field for there to be change.
Do you think the game is safe right now?
At the big upper level or the lower level?
At the NFL level, is it safe?
Safer, maybe. Safer than it was during my day.
Would you be comfortable playing under these rules, or would you want it to be even safer?
I want it to be even safer. They're going to have to do something to take the helmet out the game somehow. I don't know what that is.
Some people say
I don't know
get rid
what
of
that
it
is.
completely, or get rid of face masks.
I don't know about that one, Chuck.
No, I mean,
That's a toughie.
But that's the mindset of how do you take the head out of the game.
That's a toughie.
You know, lacrosse doesn't have it as much. You know, these other physical sports because you don't feel so. Did you feel indestructible when you had that helmet on? Was that the moment you felt I'm indestructible?
I'll tell you when I felt indestructible. When I had a great off season with our strength conditioning coach by the name of Johnny Parker. When I was told I had 8.5% body fat, I weighed 282 pounds. I bench pressed 450 to 500 pounds. I could squat 800 pounds. And I could power clean 450 pounds. At that point in time, I knew that if hit properly, the body will either bend or break. From the impact of the contact that I could deliver, the blow I could deliver to a player in the course of a ball game. I mean, I felt like, you know, I could literally go out and physically hit somebody that hard that could cause them to either be concussed or perhaps even laid out cold on a football field. There was times like that.
You still enjoy watching the game?
I enjoy watching the game. I'm a fan.
Yeah, you're still
a fan. I'm a Giants fan, of course, after 10 years of my career being played there. I'm an LSU Tiger fan at heart. Love what Les Miles is doing for the program. And then like the game of football. I like sports in general. And here's why I like sports in general. Because it teaches you competition. It teaches you the land of opportunity and success. It teaches you all the dynamics that makes us competitive in life.
Meritocracy.
And makes us want to do well in life and to compete and live it to its fullest. So I think if kids were to lose sports, it would not only hurt kids, but it would hurt industry.
You don't want to get rid of football.
At large. I don't want to get rid of any sport.
You want to make
it better, make it safer, make it better for kids, eradicate it, inform them, inform the families about the legality associated with playing sports, so forth and so on.
Leonard Marshall, thanks for coming on Meet the Press.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.